Now live.
Great, thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Finance and Claims Committee meeting of the Norwalk Common Council for today, Thursday, June 8th, 2023, beginning at 7:04 p.m. We will start the meeting following the agenda with the roll call of the Finance Committee members. Councilmember Jen McMurray.
Present.
Councilmember Nora Najelski-Eichner.
Present.
Councilmember Diana Revelous.
Here.
Councilmember John Kaides.
Here.
Councilmember Ed Camacho.
Here.
And myself, Councilmember Greg Burnett. We have a quorum. Thank you. Moving on to public participation. Item 3, we did not receive any written communication. Tissame, is there anyone who is in attendee status that has a hand raised that wishes to speak?
Yes, there is one, Alex Knopp.
Okay, if you can promote him to panelists and hello, Alex. You wish to address the Finance Committee?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just like to make a brief statement in support of the city's purchase of 3 Belden Avenue. Congratulate Mayor Rilling and the commissioners of the first district and members of the council, who I hope will act in support of this initiative. It's one of 2 key parts needed for the modernization and expansion of the Norwalk Public Library. The 3 Belden Avenue property became available in, I think, 2017 or 18, when the insurance companies who had a long-term lease were bought up by other companies, and the purchasing companies decided to relocate the 2 Norwalk firms that were in long-term tenancies at 3 Belden, and therefore the future of the property became available for discussion. I started discussions with former Mayor Zullo, who was the chairman of the first district before the pandemic. And it's taken a while, but I'm glad that the decision has been made between the city and the district to make this property available for the library's expansion and modernization. The second piece, which I won't address tonight, I have addressed previously, is the acquisition of the parking lot behind the library, which is also necessary. So I urge you to support the acquisition of 3 Belden and congratulate all the parties involved for working this out so constructively. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you, former Mayor Alex Knopp. We appreciate those words.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else, Chitsame, that has a hand raised from the attendees list that wishes to speak?
There are no other attendees.
Okay.
Actually, former Mayor Alex Knopp still has his hand up. But I will remove.
You're right. If you can move them back to attendee, that would be great.
Okay,
Okay, so we will close public participation at this time and move on to item 4, which is approval of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting from May 11th, 2023. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes? Thank you. Councilmember Nora Najelski-Eichner moves the minutes. Do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes? I saw one on page 4 of 6, which is just a minor typo in the 1/3 paragraph. I think the word is supposed to be opinion. Mr. Dakowitz provided a financial opinion. That's the only correction that I saw through the minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. One other correction on page 6 of the minutes. In the second paragraph, Mr. Lunda Asmani, Norwalk Public Schools, it's written as financial director. His title is Chief Financial Officer for Norwalk Public Schools. So please make that correction. If there's no other corrections to the minutes, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the minutes with the necessary corrections, please raise your hand virtually or verbally. Aye.
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 Okay. All those opposed have the same right. Any abstentions? Thank you. We have one abstention, Councilmember Jen McMurray. Great. Moving on to the agenda, items 5, 6, and 7 will be covered by our tax collector, Lisa B. And we'll start with item 5, which is the Claims Committee report.
Good evening. Can you hear me all right?
We can hear you perfectly.
Thank you. Good evening. The claims report for tonight does not require your action. There are no special requests due to the dollar amount, so it is for informational purposes only. With your permission, I'll move forward to the next 2 items, which are the spreadsheet for the month of May 2023 and the narrative that accompanies it. You can see from the reports in your packet for the month of May, we are at 98.37% of our net collectible levy, which is right where we need to be. We're a little bit down from last year, but we kind of knew that was going to happen because we had that delayed billing with the supplemental motor vehicle that went out a couple months late. So we did expect that. The big news really right now is we're looking forward to sending our billing for the 2022 grand list first installment. This is our first billing on our converted software system, QDS. I'm working with the vendor, QDS, and with Paul Gorman's division, the assessment division, to try to get those bills out. There were a number of delays. We are working through it. We presently have our motor vehicle bills and our business personal property bills on our system. You'll probably be able to see them online starting tomorrow. That's our intent. We have a little further to go with the real estate. But our goal normally is to have bills in the mail by the second week of June. Clearly, that's not going to happen this year, but we are hoping to have them at least online, and to have the administration maybe issue a press release about what's coming. Because we're on a new system, everything is going to look different. The online system already looks different. The bill that we all receive in the mail is going to look different. So there's going to be a few hiccups and bumps in the road, but we anticipate it will all work out in the end. But just for your information, we are a bit delayed, but we're working forward. I don't know if Henry wants to speak to that. He's been involved in several meetings with the vendor. And, unfortunately, I don't have better news, but we're doing the best we can.
I would point out, I've been involved with meetings with the vendor, with Lisa, with Paul Gorman. They've made tremendous progress this week, and we expect that progress to continue. It's just the difficulty of implementing a new system. Any software system has implementation issues. Our challenge is that we have a very hard time deadline for this implementation. And Lisa, Paul, and their teams have worked diligently with the vendor, and we expect the bills to go out on time, which is by the end of June, and we'll go forward with all the changes, and we appreciate everyone's cooperation and understanding.
I'm glad to answer any questions that anybody had.
One question that I have is, will there be any type of special communication with the tax bill explaining the differences? Because as you mentioned, it's going to look differently and people will receive it and question what is this document? It's not something they're accustomed to seeing. So will we have an additional communication in that mailing that explains the bill and why it's different and what they should look for, et cetera?
We're hoping to put that right on the bill itself. It's going to be pretty clear what they owe. I think that the initial challenge will be because it does look different. We saw this with the motor vehicle bill that we sent out because we did that as a separate billing and it wasn't part of the usual statement. We did get a lot of questions from people who, in some cases, actually thought it was like a scam. They didn't think it was a real bill. So we're going to do our best to make it look as much like the real bill as it can. But they can go to our website. I already have information up there now telling them that the bill is going to look different. It's going to look very similar to how bills in other towns look. Our bill used to look a little different in Norwalk. And now if anybody owns property in another town, it's more than likely that it's going to look just like that bill.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments for Lisa? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Thank you very much, Lisa. We will accept items 5, 6, and 7 as information only. No action to be taken. And hopefully next month we'll see that 99% come up for our collection rate.
And hopefully next month by this time, we'll have tax money coming into Chitsame. So we'll see you next month.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Stay well, folks.
We'll move on in the agenda to item 8, which is receive Oak Hills Authority's monthly financial statement for March and April 2023. And we have Alan Dutton from the Oak Hills Park Authority to give us the update.
Good evening, Chairman Burnett and members of the Finance Committee. We have 2 months, March and April. So I'll briefly go over March and then talk about April from an operating point of view. In the month of March, basically we were budgeted to lose $40,000 for the month. We actually ended up losing only $21,000, so $19,000 to the good on the profit side. Golf revenue was up by about 5% over budget. Some of the other revenue areas were down a little bit. The income from rentals that we didn't have, we have vacant at the moment. I'll talk about that later. And some other areas were slightly down. Our labor was on budget for the month of March. And we were able to have some savings in the park area in the way of maintenance and in the way of equipment. And that resulted in cost savings. So overall, for the month of March, we were $19,000 better than our budget, which is always a good thing. Moving to April, April was an absolutely great month for Oak Hills Park. Our revenue was $107,000 over budget. Obviously, a lot of that was due to the really nice weather that we experienced there. Our golf revenue was 41% over our budget on the golf side. Even with this extra revenue, we were able to keep our expenses in line. They're on budget. So for the month of April, we were budgeted to lose $13,000 in the month. We ended up making $93,000 before depreciation and debt service. It was obviously a great month for us in March and April. So where are we on a year-to-date basis? After I think 10 months in the bank, we have May and June to go. We'll be closing our fiscal year. So on the revenue side, we're $187,000 over budget. Golf is about 12% over this year compared to last year. Our revenue compared to last year, it's 187 ahead of budget. It's 194,000 ahead of last year. So really good numbers. Our expenses for the time were $102,000 under budget. Now, we haven't had a general manager, which was a $50,000 budget, so it's $50,000 straight off the bat, but we're still able to save $50,000 on expenses. So, what does that mean? So we are $285,000 better than our budgeted income before depreciation and debt service compared to the budget, and $183,000 over last year. So really good financial numbers, I think, at this moment in time. And just from a cash point of view, we, at the end of April, we had $488,000 in the bank, $240,000 more than we had at the same time last year. So on the financial side, I think we seem to be doing rather well. Two other items just like to bring to the committee's attention. We have two kind of properties there which we are available for rental by the end of the 13th hole. One of them is actually used by the assistant green superintendent as accommodation as part of his package. And the other one we have recently renovated, part of our capital budget, and we've just leased it out. So as of the 1st of June, we'll be getting rental income for it, which is part of our budget, which is obviously a good thing. And the other thing I'd just like to bring to the committee's attention is that we, our greens are looking really good. A lot of that's got to do with our green staff and the great job they do, but also we're investing in that. We did lease 4 new pieces of equipment, 2 greens mowers and 2 fairway mowers. And these are so much more efficient and they do the job so much better. And it kind of gets the job done quicker and keeps the manpower because it's much more efficient. So we continue to invest in Oak Hills Park. That's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Do we have any questions for Oak Hills? I did have one question related to the general manager's position. It appears that you're doing well without that position being filled. Are you still contemplating filling that position?
Funny you should mention that, Mr. Chairman. We are very, 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 very close to appointing a general manager for Oak Hills Park. We've had some candidates and we're narrowing in, we're doing some checks and stuff. And I believe at the next meeting, I'll be happy to announce that we have, we are going to hire a general manager, which will take, to be quite honest with you, a lot of the burden off what I've been doing, and have a professional in the place. Not that I wasn't, but I think we will be doing that. I'll be reporting that, I believe, at the next meeting.
I do have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but if you didn't, would you tell us what's going on with the restaurant revenue?
The restaurant is open, which is, and it's open 6 days a week, and the times are posted. And we're gradually building up the business in the restaurant. The halfway house is doing well. The drinks card is doing well. And the restaurant is open. We serve breakfast on the weekends. We have an agreement with them as the hours of operation and what they have to do. They're living up to that agreement. They're paying their bills on time. The place is open. Is it where we want it to be from a revenue point of view? Obviously, we're getting lease money from them. There's still, room for increased business, but we are open. There are people in there. I go and visit. So I am optimistic as to what's going on, Ed.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments for Oak Hills? Okay, hearing, seeing none. Thank you, Alan, for the update, and let's hope the May numbers come in just as well, if not better than the April numbers.
I have a feeling that they're going to be even better, Mr. Chairman, but I don't want to keep my powder dry on this. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 9 on the agenda, which is the tax assessor's update on the revaluation process. And we have Paul Gorman, who is our assistant tax assessor, to give us the update.
Good evening, all. Thank you for having me here today. As you can see in your packet, that the agenda packet, you had the numbers of the percentages completed as of May 20th. Unfortunately, I was unable to get the updated numbers into the package, but as of June 2nd, the revaluation team on the residential side has now visited 65% of the homes, up from the 57% on May 20th. And the commercial inspectors have increased from 41% visited to 44% visited. The results from the visits are tracking similarly, with tracking somewhere in the 24-25% range of people being home. The getting in rate has gone up a little bit as some people are being home for vacations and things as such. But still tracking exactly where we wanted to see it be at this point in time. They are going to be adding another commercial person to try to help with that effort to get to more properties more quickly and more efficiently. And so that brings us up to date of where we're at as of June 2nd for visits. So I'll open the floor to any questions about the visit. Oh, I'm sorry. One last note about visits. The amount of calls coming in about people being upset from the knocks on the doors has decreased quite a bit over the course of the past month since we last met. So I think the efforts made by Michelle Woods and her department and Mayor Rilling's office, putting out the robocall, has been helpful in getting the word out so that people know why these people are knocking on the doors.
I do have a quick question,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, I didn't, for whatever reason, when we switched over from .org to .gov, something happened and I haven't been receiving my email. So if this is in the packet, I apologize. But is the homes that you're visiting, is that homes that show some change, some changes, some renovations, some alterations to the property, or are you actually talking about every single home or property in the city of Norwalk?
Every single home is being visited this year. It's a what we call a full physical reval. So the boots are on the ground and they're knocking on every door. So that statistic of 65% is based on 17,319 homes having been visited so far.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot.
Yep, 12,000 more to go.
Great.
Okay. And if there are no other questions about the statistics, I have one other.
Right, we'll move to, you mean the authorization?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Let's just close out. Are there any questions related to the reval? So I guess my question is, are you comfortable where we're at right now? Are there any additional efforts that need to be taken? Or we're moving in the right direction?
No, we're definitely moving in the right direction. The project manager, the on-site manager, and the overall project manager that works on the tables that'll be created, they add staff as necessary. They've added, I think, 5 new inspectors over the course of the past 2 months to bolster the residential side. And like I said, they have a new person coming on board to work on the commercial side to bolster that effort as well. So I think we're moving in the right direction, and the percentage complete that we're at is good for this time of year.
Great. Any other questions or comments for the tax assessor on the reval? Okay, hearing seeing none, we'll move on to item 10, which reads as follows: authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into a contract with Safe Ground Analytics, Inc. for review analysis services in the amount not to exceed $45,000, account noted, tax assessor revaluation, other professional services. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Jen McMurray, thank you. And now back to you, Paul, to explain this request.
The opportunity was presented to us to expand John Valente's group at Safe Ground Analytics role in the reval. Currently, they were hired specifically for the commercial valuation portion of the reval. Vision was doing the inspections, and John's group was going to do the valuation. An opportunity presented itself to expand John's role into being more of a monitor of the overall reval. And after careful consideration, it was decided that it was an opportunity that we couldn't pass up to have somebody with the vast wealth of knowledge of not only revaluation process, but also of Norwalk, because John and his team have been working in and around Norwalk for us for the past 5 years as consultants. We thought that it was a good idea to have an extra level of scrutiny on this reval so that when we do come to the end in December of this year, that we are very confident in the numbers that are going to be published, the values that are published at the end of this process.
Question, do you feel that the adding this additional resource will assist in reducing the number of appeals?
That's the hope. I mean, unfortunately, most of the appeals and or lawsuits generally tend to be from the commercial side of things, and it's making a little light of it, but the commercial side of things generally have their appeals written up before the numbers are even published. So there's going to be a certain amount of them that you just can't avoid. But yes, we do hope that doing this will add that, like I said, that extra level of scrutiny that will help tighten up the numbers and make it more presentable, more palatable to the populace.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments related to this authorization? Okay, seeing hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving this authorization, show by the sign of raising your hand or verbal aye. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, thank you. It's unanimous. So we will move this item to the full council for review and final approval at the Tuesday, June 13th Common Council meeting. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, the agenda, item 11 reads as follows: resolution requesting the Building Management Department project in the amount of $1,420,000 for the ARPA American Rescue Plan Act Fund. Account numbers noted, ARPA general expense acquisition of 3 Belden Avenue, Norwalk, Connecticut. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Jen McMurray, thank you. And we have on the call with us, I believe, Darren Callahan from Corporate Counsel. And I believe also Jess Vonacek, our Chief of Economic and Community Development, to take us through this request.
Great. So I will take the lead on this, and Darren can fill in some of the blanks that I leave out. But in 2018, the library board completed 2 studies. One was a strategic plan from 2019 to 2022, and the second was a building plan. And those plans contemplated a renovation of the existing library in addition to a potential expansion of the library. And when we're talking about the library, we're talking about 1 Belden, the Belden Main Library. And at that point in time, the library board came to the city, and the city started to talk with the first taxing district about the 3 Belden property. And 3 Belden property is approximately 0.53 acres. And we have been talking to the first taxing district for a number of years in order to be able to acquire that particular parcel, with the goal of being able to expand the library in some form, as well as renovate the library. And of course, that renovation and that potential expansion is to be able to modernize the library to meet the current needs of residents of Norwalk, and also the future needs of the resident Norwalk, and also to enhance the amenities that that library offers. At this point in time, we have a resolution for you to be able to create an account that is an ARPA account for $1.42 million, which includes the acquisition as well as other administrative requirements as identified by the legal department. And that would be to, again, purchase the 0.53 acre that is currently 3 Belden. Right now on 3 Belden Avenue, our business development center is located there. Originally, the redevelopment agency was located there. And when the redevelopment agency moved to 50 Washington, we began our Norwalk Business Development Center there. Our business center there. And one of the things that we've been talking about with the library board is to be able to incorporate that business development center actually inside of the library with the expansion that is being contemplated. Right now, we've been talking to the library board about redoing the strategic plan or updating the strategic plan, and also updating the building plan to be able to identify, if we were to obtain 3 Belden, what that footprint could look like for the library and how that expansion may take place. Darren, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
No, Jess, that was pretty comprehensive, but I'm prepared to answer questions anyone may have.
Mr. Burnett, you're muted.
Thank you. I'm sorry. The question I had is, can you expand on the parking that will become available as a result of this acquisition?
Sure. So right now we have temporary parking on the Eagles parcel, and that's approximately 30 spaces. And what we see for 3 Belden is the opportunity to be able to have a long-term parking solution. And so, as mentioned, the library board will go into the process of updating their strategic plan and updating their building plan. And that really is to understand with the acquisition of 3 Belden, what the parcel size is for that can handle the expansion and also the parking. So we see 3 Belden as a long-term solution for the parking. In addition, of course, we're looking at other parcels as well that Mayor Knopp had referred to during his public comment, and no decisions have been made on those particular parcels or on that particular parcel. And so those decisions are pending, I believe, at the next Common Council meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Jen McMurray, you had your hand raised?
I did, and great minds think alike. I was going to ask a similar question, but I will ask a follow-up question to the parking. I know that we have the Eagles right now, and I think the concern that's come up with a lot of residents who have reached out to us is that that's further away from the entrance than the current parking situation. So my question is, if we acquire 3 Belden, will we be able to utilize the parking that is currently there as soon as we acquire that property for the library as well?
Yes, that's correct. Absolutely. Yes.
And how many spaces are currently there? Can you state that for the record?
I believe that there are over 30 parking spaces in that lot. I can't tell you the exact number, but 30 is what currently is there now. And of course, we use those for the Business Development Center, but they will be used for the library as well.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yes, Councilmember Norma Najolski-Eichner.
Thank you, Chair. And just similarly for the record,
You're muted.
You're muted, Nora.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, we
So
can.
just, oh, thank you, Chair. So just similarly for the record, can you just provide some information about how the sale price was calculated and how we are confident that this is a fair market value for the city to be acquiring this property?
I think that Darren has a little bit more detail on that particular item than I do. Darren, are you comfortable commenting on that? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yes, absolutely. We had it independently appraised by an appraiser. Does it has in recent years done a number of appraisal work, or a great amount of appraisal work for the city regarding tax appeals. It was appraised by Bimini and Associates, and I could say that the numbers work out very favorably for the city.
Great. Thank you, Darren. I just think that's a really important thing to have in the record for the conversation. So appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that just to kind of add a little tail onto that, the first taxing district views the city of Norwalk as a strategic partner now and into the future. We have a number of interactions that we're currently involved in, and it's anticipated that will continue, of course, and vice versa. We view them in a similar fashion. So this is a very unique opportunity, and they've presented it in a very fair fashion to us.
I should also mention that next steps from our internal approval process would be to bring this particular project to an approval to Planning and Zoning Commission on June the 21st for the 8-24, and then to the Common Council on June the 27th.
Thank you for that update. Are there any other questions related to this very positive move forward for the city of Norwalk? I guess the one question I have is there an estimate as to when we will begin to see some representation of what the renovations might look like? Or is that, in terms of how many months away before we might begin to see some ideas?
Yeah, so I believe within the next 4 to 6 months, we will start to see some ideas. The next steps internally for us would be that Alan Lowe will be leading the project on behalf of building and maintenance. He will be creating an RFQ and an RFP that will be posted for architectural services. And those architectural services will take into account the strategic plan update and the building plan update as well. We will also we'll need to bring together a building committee, and that building committee will help to advise the architectural company to be able to come up with plans. And so I believe that within the next 6 months, we should see something. I don't believe that in the next 3 to 4 months, we'll see something, but 4 to 6 months, I do believe that that's when we should expect to be able to see next steps.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Diana Revelous.
Thank you, Chair. This is, I just want to say great, first of all. It's just a small question. With the 3 Belden Avenue, with the development of that business center, do you see, or would you think of if there was any growth with the use of that building? Would the parking sharing cause any strain to that? And will we have to be looking at that later? That's really it. That's my only question.
Great. So I think that we're seeing probably around 5 to 10 walk-ins to the Business Development Center each week. And we have a number of different events that are planned for the Business Development Center. So I think that on days where the Business Development Center has training sessions and has larger Learning technical advancement sessions, we probably will work to block off some of the parking spaces, although that's only an hour and a half to 2 hours of the day. The rest of the time, and they're usually scheduled in and around lunch, so around 12 to 2. But I do believe that there won't be a pressure, that we will be able to manage not only the Business Development Center need for parking, but also the library need for parking as well. And I think that that's going to work out very positively for the library, in addition to those spots that we have at Eagles, which, again, as noted, they are a little bit farther away, but they can be used as overflow in addition to the spots that are at 3 Belden.
Thank you.
Great. Are there any other questions or comments related to this item? Okay, hearing, seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving this item, show by a raise of hand or verbal. Okay, it looks unanimous. Great. And as Jessica indicated, the next step for this item will be to go to Planning and Zoning review on June 21st, and then the full council on June 27th. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Moving on to item 12 on the agenda, which reads as follows. A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute the order form with Bonfire Interactive Ltd. for a 3-year term, a total not to exceed $47,521.44, annual amount $15,840.48, funding available from account as noted. And B, authorize the purchasing department to issue change orders on the contract for a total amount not to exceed $4,752. Do we have a motion on this item?
Motion.
Councilmember Jen McMurray, thank you. And we have our purchasing agent Sharon Connors to take us through this request.
Thank you, Chairman. Here's a little background of our use for this system called Bonfire. The purchasing department has been using this system since 2017. Some of the examples that how our department uses this system is we use it to public advertise all our invitation to bids, RFQs, requests for qualifications, and RFPs, requests for proposals. We additionally accept all those submissions electronically besides a hard copy. We have huge efficiencies using this system electronically. Between the purchasing department, the project manager, and the appropriate selection committees, we use it to evaluate our submissions. We review them. We also use it to score the proposals for the RFQs and RFPs. So we have an electronic record of everybody on the selection committee on how they evaluate a current proposal. Besides all this, we use it as a contract repository for our multi-year contracts. We also use the system to set up reminders as to when to go out for another RFP or do an extension on a particular contract. Additionally, we use it for task order bidding for some of our on-call contracts. Huge efficiencies on that piece. Previously, the projects managers were just emailing the request to see if they can, somebody on the contract to do the work. Now it's public, it is advertised to the people that are on the contract, and it's all submissions are done electronically. And then lastly, we use it for data tracking and dashboard. So reason why I'm here today is traditionally we used to just renew on an annual basis. We've been an early adopter on this system, and by being an early adopter, we use the system to help beta test a lot of the enhancements. We also allow us to talk to other interested parties. They want to know more about the system. We give them recommendations and all that kind of stuff. So by early an adopter, that it's been able to cost contain our subscription. Well, as we know, the past 3 years, everything has gone up, and this upcoming renewal of the Bonfire was requesting a 5% increase on our annual subscription. So obviously purchasing likes to negotiate, and we asked for a longer term with the containment around the subscription costs. So with going forward on a 3-year, we would have our annual costs remain flat for the next 3 years. So that's it. Any questions?
Sounds like great negotiating.
Some days it's good and some days it's okay. You know, as Henry says, not everybody's a winner, but as long as you can come away with a little piece of everything, it's okay.
Great. Thank you, Sharon. And it is truly a great tool. So it works very well.
Thank
Are
you.
there any questions on this authorization or comments? Okay, hearing, seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of this authorization show by a raise of hand or verbal aye. I think that's everyone. Yes, we're unanimous. Thank you. So this item, Sharon, will move to the full council on Tuesday, June 13th for final approval.
Great. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Moving on in the agenda to item 13, which reads as follows: authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into a 5-year contract with Cablevision Lightpath LLC, and that's a update to what your agenda might show. The correct name is Cablevision Lightpath LLC as secondary internet service provider, annual amount not to exceed $30,000 for a total not to exceed $150,000 account noted. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Jen McMurray, thank you. And we have with us our IT Director, Joyce Liu, to take us through this authorization.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Good evening, everyone. So this item just provides some background for this agenda item. So back in February, city has suffered a major internet service outage with Digital Back Office, which is our primary service provider, due to one of the incident happening in their network data center. So after this incident, we did have a talk with Digital Back Office that lead us to, on the, to looking for a second internet service provider that to ensure city have a backup internet service to ensure the business continuation. So we had an open bid for this project, and thank you for purchasing department's help. Then the Cablevision Lightpath LLC is the winner of this bid. I just give some, Lightpath is basically a subdivision of a Cablevision. They are the leading provider of the fiber optic connectivity solution for business in the Northeast. They specialize in high bandwidth, fiber optic internet access. And we did have a bid evaluation committee. We carefully review all the the fact and all the proposals, and we recommend the Cablevision Lightpath as the most suitable choices. The key reason I put in the memo, basically they are, they are expertise and specialized in fiber, and they do have a very competitive pricing, given that the 5 years give us a very sweet, spot the 5-year fixed price. That will be $30,000. That's about $2,500 per month for the internet services. And also they will have a timely execution on the project because they are a big company and they have a specialized team, and their whole business is just doing fiber and fiber only. So so that's the reason we choose LightPath as our second internet provider. So I'm here to answer any question you have for this agenda request.
Thank you, Joyce. Do we have any questions on this authorization or any comments? One question I have, do we currently have a secondary internet service provider, or so this will be adding redundancy?
That is adding redundancy. We realize we rely on the internet so much. It was not an issue before until we really have, well, it's kind of the incident really wake us up saying that city this big, we should have a backup plan. Just like when you at the house, when your electrician go away, you have a generator, backup generator to ensure the continuity of the business. I just don't think that city that our size, we shouldn't rely on one source of internet service. So that is after the clearly discussion with the chief financial officer, budget department, we felt that's a right way to do, to pursue another internet service provider. But so in April 13, we asked for Chairman Burnett, you might remember, we asked for Palo Alto firewall. That is a pair with this, because right now our our firewall is also managed by the digital back office. So with them, we just simply without a firewall on our own, we simply cannot have a secondary ISP on our own. So that is also there's a prelude of what this request about.
Great, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments relating to this authorization? Okay, hearing, seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of this authorization show by the sign of raising your hand or verbal aye. Let's see, Mr. Camacho, are you voting on
Yeah.
this?
Sorry about that.
Thank you. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. So we will move this item. I'm sorry.
I
Nora,
am, Chair. I just,
I'm sorry, Councilmember Nora Nadelsky-Eichner, you have your hand raised for a question? Oh, okay. I think we're all set. So Joyce, we will move this item to the next council meeting on Tuesday, June 13th for full council approval. Moving on to item 14 on the agenda, which reads as follows: authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to GovConnection LLC in an amount not to exceed $394,443.77 for 6 Cisco distribution switches, 23 access switches, and 10 uplink modules, account number as noted. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Jen McMurray, thank you. And Joyce Liu, our IT director, will take us through this authorization as well.
Thank you so much. So, so just give some background. This is part of an IT infrastructure upgrade project. So we currently, our network is really outdated. As our organization grows, is the demand on the network is like infrastructure continue to increase. So the purchase we are requesting here is basics. The distribution distribution switches and access switch. So we have our network team. Actually, we have a very great network team. And normally this kind of big project like this, we will outsource that to consultant company to do the design. But our network team is so, they are very knowledgeable and they come up all the design by themselves. So we kind of save money on the consulting helping us design. So this, our infrastructure, what we are trying to do is a Cisco 3-layer, hierarchy model, which is contain the 3-layer, the core switch, the distribution switch, and the access switch. So back in April 13, the Finance Committee, we already asked 3 core switches. This request here is asking additional 6 distribution switch, which is the second layer. And then this, so each core will have a 2 distribution switch connecting to this. And then the rest of it is a 23 access switch. So basically the access switch, it's it's a 48 port access switch that connecting with the user. So that's the layer that we are creating between, that's a third layer we are creating. So the core layer is the backbone of the network. So it provides a high-speed connection. So between the different distribution layer devices, the distribution layer connecting the access layer to the core layer. And the access layer, that's where the initial connection to our end user. So the design we are having is have a core distribution access all together. And we already asked the core back in April, this purchase is just to complete the rest of our design and make the final purchase that will be finish our infrastructure upgrade checkoff list. And those are the equipment we need to ensure that we have redundant, reliable, and network. I'm here to answer any question if you have any.
Great, thank you, Joyce. Do we have any questions or comments related to this authorization for purchase? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving this item, show by a raise of hand or verbal aye. All, Diana, Council. Oh, thank you. That makes it unanimous. So this item will also move to the full council on Tuesday, June 13th for full council review and approval. Thank you, Joyce.
Thank you so much.
We have one additional item to add to the agenda, which will require a 2/3 vote motion to add the item to the agenda. So I'll first read the item and then we'll need a motion to add the item to the agenda. Then the motion reads as follows: authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into agreement with the Norwalk Housing Authority for the abatement of real property taxes at a rate of 5% of the aggregate rents collected with respect to Oak Grove Affordable Housing Development for a term of either 16 years from the issuance of certificate of occupancy for the last unit in the project, or 18 years from the date when all parties have signed the agreement, whichever is first. Do we have a motion to add this item to the agenda?
Motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Diana Revelous. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approving adding this item to the agenda, please show by a raise of hand. And it is unanimous. Thank you. So this item is now added to the agenda. And we have with us to review this particular item, let's Jessica Bonacek, our Chief of Economic and Community Development, Lisa Endo from the Norwalk Housing Authority, David McCarthy from Heritage Housing. So Jess, you want to start?
Sure, absolutely. I'm just going to say a few brief words before I hand it over to Lisa Endo, the Development Project Manager for the Norwalk Housing Authority. One of the things that we have identified through the Plan for Conservation Development, of course, is the need for affordable housing. And I think that since 2019, when we adopted that Plan for Conservation Development, we've seen even greater need for affordable housing across the city. And this project is a really fantastic project, Oak Grove. It's a part of Colony Village. It's 69 additional incremental affordable units at varying degrees of affordability. And I do know that the Norwalk Housing Authority and David, on behalf of Heritage, have been working really closely with the mayor's office. What you haven't seen is that the mayor actually did write a support letter for this particular project to be able to receive the tax agreement in which Lisa will run through with you. But I do want to say that it is definitely an enhancement to the city of Norwalk and a benefit to the city of Norwalk to be able to bring almost 70 new units of affordable housing online, in addition to an education learning center that will help the residents learn skills and give the kids a place to be able to go on site. So I just think it's a really great project and wanted to let you know that the mayor does support this particular agreement with the letter that he did write last week. And with that, I'll pass it on to Lisa.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Endo. I'm a development project manager for the Norwalk Housing Authority, and I'm joined today by David McCarthy, Heritage Housing Principal. Heritage is a Norwalk-based affordable housing developer. As Jess said, Oak Grove is a project that the Norwalk Housing Authority is co-developing with Heritage. It consists of 69 fully affordable units. It's a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. And we've included a mix of income levels to serve different needs in the community. There's a range of area median incomes from 30%, 50%, 60%, and 80%. And as Jess said, we are financing this project using low-income housing tax credits, as well as tax-exempt bonds. We've also are expecting funds from the Connecticut Department of Housing, and the Housing Authority is putting in 18 project-based vouchers. So using our Housing Choice vouchers to subsidize rental assistance for our extremely low-income households. As Jess mentioned as well, we're very excited to be building a brand new learning center on the site. The Housing Authority runs an after-school and summer program for kindergarten through 5th grade students. This will be available free to tenants of the property. And we are also making some improvements, including a wetlands walking trail that will add new native plants and remove invasive plants from the wetlands area behind the property, new playground, as well as including solar across the entire property to provide benefits to the Housing Authority as well as to the tenants. We're very excited to be considered here for a tax abatement. As Jess said, the agreement stipulates 5% of shelter rents minus trash and utilities costs. So it comes to roughly $1.7 million in shelter rents at stabilized occupancy. And David, is there anything else that I have missed or you want to add?
Hi, everyone. David McCarthy, and president of Heritage Housing Inc., and we're the joint venture partner with NHA. I think the one thing to add is this property has been vacant for 70 years, if not longer. There's finally a proposal in place to develop it for affordable housing. And as far as I know, for those 70 years, it has been off the tax rolls entirely. And so, you know, even with the tax abatement, putting this project, putting the property to work to create affordable housing will also add revenue to the city of Norwalk that it's not getting from the site in its current state.
Thanks, David. And I'll add that we're working towards closing and breaking ground this summer. And it's a 15-month construction schedule so that we anticipate opening the end of 2024. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilmember Ed Camacho.
Just as a matter of curiosity, why has the property remained vacant for 70 years?
I believe at
Do we
one
know?
point, there was a community center on site, but this is definitely before my time, so I'm not sure. I know there have been plans to put housing plus a learning center on site, and these plans have been in development for like 10 years. I think due to a lack of staff capacity, it's been put off for some time. I joined the Housing Authority a year ago, and David As a co-developer, Heritage came on board slightly before that. So things have really ramped up since we've been able to staff up.
So there's nothing like especially undesirable or
Oh, no.
unique or bad about the situation about the property or anything like
No, that's a very good question. No, it's pretty pristine. There's some rock underneath that we'll need to deal with, but it's in an excellent, very central location in Norwalk, close to transit, Norwalk Community College. It's in a great location. And then it's right next to Colonial Village, as Jess said, which is an entirely Section 8 supported 200 unit property that we've just recently got renovated. And so there'll be some efficiencies there between the housing authority. So it's hard to say why this has not happened yet, but we're very excited that it's finally moving forward.
That's great. Thank you.
One question that I had was related to the construction. Will this project allow for opportunities for local employment in terms of the construction of the units?
Yes, thank you for asking. So as a housing authority project, we will be abiding by Section 3 HUD rules, which means that we actively recruit, train, and provide opportunities to low-income workers and low-income owned businesses. There's a 25% target goal set by HUD, but that we also follow, and that's measured by labor hours. On top of that, we have a goal of targeting Norwalk. So to your question, local low-income workers, especially to the extent that we can hire public housing and Section 8 tenants. And we're in the works of planning an informational session to start recruitment there. On top of that, we also have women and minority business enterprise goals that we're working with the state to set and abide by. And our contractor is fully aware of this and very set with a strategic plan around how to achieve those goals.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments related to this? Yes, Council Member Diana Reveles. And then followed by Nora, let's see, Diana put her hand down, so.
No, I just put it down to talk.
Okay.
So I again, I just want to state this because I stated in nauseam, but this does sound good, especially up to 3 bedrooms, and with affordability connected to it. I am just concerned with a staple, something that's starting to happen that, some of us have seen with, our areas in South Norwalk, for example, just how these units, so sorry with the background singer, are maintained and kept for these residents. And then again, I just want our community to really truly understand the importance of ownership. We can build these things in a way that, those same affordabilities can happen in a way and space that can have longevity to the community and not cause it that even at a 3 bedrooms, great, don't get me wrong. But at some place in space, if we don't give our community a leg to have generational standing here, it's going to cause a divide in not only the dynamic of the people that live here, but of how Norwalk holds to be, especially as a community of kind of wanting to almost still feel like a small town for the little inkling that we can hold on that. So I'm just going to speak that just to say it though, but this is, so from what it hears to be, a great plan, great development. I just want us to keep in understanding of what can happen with major developments and not managed well for these tenants, and to not ignore the fact that we do need ownership here. Thanks. So sorry for the kid.
Thank you, Diana. No problem at all. Councilmember Nora Dujelsky-Eichner.
Thank you, Chair. Just following up on Councilmember Revelus's comments, as I think the Housing Authority is certainly very aware. There have been, I think, some concerns in retrospect about the construction quality of some of the projects that the Housing Authority has undertaken, and obviously with the best of intentions. But I wanted to get a sense of, and I should say, this is a very exciting project, fully supportive of it. But could we get a little bit of information from the two of you about the construction quality controls planned for this unit and how we will ensure that the construction is up to standards so that maintenance will be easier going forward, so that we will not have maintenance problems arising after the completion of this new project?
Sure, thank you for that question. David, do you want to speak a little bit about the GC?
Sure. Well, I'm not exactly sure which concerns in particular you have about construction, but we've been I personally have been developing affordable housing for almost 18 years. And in that time I've worked on close to 3,000 units of housing. We are hiring an experienced general contractor named AP Construction, who I have done 2 prior projects with. One was the recently completed Canaan Parish in New Canaan, Connecticut. And the other one was Metro Green Terrace down in Stamford. And I've found AP's construction quality to be the highest that we see anywhere. They are really meticulous. They hire subcontractors who do really good quality work. And we haven't whiffed once with them yet. So that won't, that can't obviously ensure that nothing will happen, but we will keep a close eye on them, and we know that they keep a close eye on the job, and we'll just take it from there.
Great. Thank you. That is very comforting to hear. It is, I think, this question of meticulous that has arisen in some of the other projects that have recently been completed, where there were gaps left in place such that there's easy access for rodents to infest and other. It's been discovered that things did not line up properly, that there was not, again, that level of care and meticulousness. So I'm really thrilled to hear that you are satisfied with the contractor's work historically, and that's something you'll be monitoring as the project goes forward. So that's I think very positive news for all of us.
If I could add just one more thing that's helpful to know what you're concerned about. We will also have inspections done by a company that specializes in green building. And I've worked with this particular company again for probably like 15 years now. And before any drywall gets put on, they go through and do a very good inspection of the insulation quality and the air sealing. And then they also do a post drywall inspection. And they catch the gaps and cracks and things like that, like you wouldn't even imagine. So I think on that area, we're going to be very well suited.
I'm sorry, follow-up question on that. Has this company helped you with anything that's been developed in Norwalk recently? So sorry.
Well, this is my first time working in Norwalk personally, so no, I have not worked with AP on anything in Norwalk, but I do know that they have experience in Norwalk. They actually were the contractor for the Maritime Center expansion that was recently completed. And you have to be pretty meticulous when you're building like a 150,000 gallon seal tank or whatever the thing was. But yeah,
so maybe they can be a comparative standard. So okay, all right.
Diana, did you have an additional question?
Not currently. In the back of my head, but not currently. I'll do our last motion. If you want me to, motion to adjourn. I'll do that. No, I'm just kidding.
We're not quite there yet.
No, I'm just kidding. I was being funny.
All right. Do we have any other questions for for the team as it relates to the Oak Grove Affordable Housing Development. Are there, one question I have, are there any, do you see a clear path forward in terms of moving this project, or is there any hurdles that we need to get over before we can break ground and see that, you know, shovels in the ground and work actually happening?
We're on a really strong track right now. I just heard from the building department yesterday that they're issuing the building permit imminently. We're having our closing calls already with Chaffa DOH and the investors. So things are really moving, which is very exciting. I don't see any hurdles.
Great to hear that. Thank you. All right. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving this authorization, show by a raise of hand or verbal aye.
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 Okay, that makes it unanimous. Great, thank you. So we will move this item to the full council for next week's meeting on Tuesday, June 13th.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Great. All right, so the next item on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
That's me. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Council Member Diana Revelous. All those in favor show by a sign of aye.
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 Great, it's unanimous. We stand adjourned. Thank you for your time and attention, and have a great rest of the evening.
Good night.